Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy. Thanks for coming to the channel. I'm working on myself, doing self-improvement. This is part of a series that I'm giving it a little bit of a spin to the title, and it's of what it is that I'm doing. Instead of just self-improvement, I'm calling it creating a noble house, because this just isn't for me. I want this to be actually for everyone, you included. And it's because I find more comfort in people who understand that they think and do like I do. I like those people more, and so I consider those people to be more my family than my actual family. And it's just because my dad is he's absolute trash. Just because you become a parent, that doesn't transform you into something else. For some people, yeah, it can push them and elevate them to be something else, but it's not an automatic thing. It's not an automatic thing. That if you put in the effort, yes, you can be something better, but that can happen for anything. And so with the extended family, there are some people where it's like, oh yeah, hey, what's up? And others, and this is something that really helps me whenever I hear stuff about like racism and sexism and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, you're missing the point. I don't care about those things. I do not care about your characteristics that cannot be changed. You can't change your age, your sex, things like that. I don't care. I care about what's going on inside your mind. And the telltale sign with that is, well, what are you doing? For example, you hear people who are always talking about their health, but then they will just eat anything that's placed in front of them, and they'll just eat all the time, and they never work out. It's like they'll say it, but they don't ever do it. It's like, well, I care about what you do. And I do like this one phrase from the Bible. There's several that I like, but it's from 1 John 3:16, and it says, "Let us love not from words." I can't read it from here. Let us not love in word or speech, but in truth and action. And I hear this a lot. There's this recent channel on YouTube that I've come across called Taylor the Fiend, and he constantly brings this up because girls do this so often, especially these younger girls on TikTok, and even the older girls. But on TikTok, they're just constantly making these videos about themselves and their feelings, and then they'll use these other words, and it's like their actions don't match up with it at all. Because they'll talk about how they're a kind, generous person, and then that's it. And then they're just constantly going on about themselves. What they're saying is one thing, but what they're doing is something else, and it's just a bunch of hypocrites out there is what it is. And part of it is because, their education system doesn't ever teach anything remotely like this. I am creating my own personal values or morals. I mean, well, not creating new from scratch. They're already there. But these are the ones that I'm choosing to be my own. With the coat of arms, one of the family values that I want everyone in the family to always kind of understand is individuality. That we are all absolutely 100% unique individuals, and that's okay. There's nothing you can do to change it. We will absolutely never be the same. That you are special, and not this group thing. Not like this Black Lives Matter and white power and all that other crap. No, screw all that. That's stupid. Just to accept that you're different and that that's right, and it's just you can't argue against it. I don't understand how people argue against it at all. And I've looked into this for a long time, for several years, and I never see anything that's compelling. I see people who do a good argument about individuality, and whenever it comes to some kind of collectivism, it's like, yeah, you're just glossing over it. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're refusing to listen. It's so stupid. I wish I would have taken notes on this stuff back then. I invite you to do this too, to get yourself sorted out, because getting yourself sorted out is not just diet and exercise and a higher education. It's sorting you out. And the only person who can do it is you. You cannot sort me out. I cannot sort you out. We can both work on it and we can share notes, but in the end, and this is going to go into one of my other values that I want myself and others to really understand, and that is responsibility. I'm the only one who's responsible for me. You can't make me do a damn thing that I don't want to do. You might be able to scare others with some tactics to get them to conform, and there's, I think, an overwhelming amount of the population who just don't have a clue, and they're just busy with their lives. They've got their jobs and their friends and their families and hobbies and so on. So if you understand this sentiment so far, then I would appreciate some help by hitting that like button and subscribing and becoming a member. So let's go ahead and look into this. You know, you, me, we kind of thing. I thought that was all right for this little picture right here. And then above me, I've got the little word text document that I like to have with a lot of these videos. If you are watching on YouTube, then this is on that website, Practical Focused Improvement. I also have another channel called Freedom of Expression. That one is currently down. I don't think today, but tomorrow the little strike thing will be gone, and I just don't care, because at some point in time I'm just gonna sue them. But I know that first I need to be able to develop a case against them, and if I can do this thoroughly and detailed enough where I'm just showing that, well, no, I'm just passing on information, and that this is research and studies from others, then whenever I do take them to court, that it's like, yeah, you did what now? Now, I actually came across this video, and I'll have links in the description below for all of the videos that I have here, where this is why Jordan Peterson is wrong about ideology. And the channel is called Now and Then, and he just gets it wrong. I like a lot of what he says here, and there's some things that I actually kind of went with. I have it questioned, left open. I don't know who this guy is, so I don't know if he's like a professional psychologist or anything like that. If he is, then I would say, yeah, he needs to be held with a little more scrutiny with all this. But if he's just like a random person who's just making YouTube videos, then it's like, yeah, you gotta throw some leeway to people like that for sure. You know, I don't do that with politicians. It's like, no, you're a politician, you're supposed to understand what the hell it is that you're spouting off over there, and not just all these stupid little platitudes. And it's like, no, just no. So, but I don't know anything about them, so if you do, then you know more than I. So individuality, and so individualists, and a lot of these are just what I found on Wikipedia, because just the typical definition on like the Webster's dictionary, it's kind of specific in a way, a little bit more specific, but it's also kind of more vague. And Wikipedia is a little clearer with all of this stuff. Anyways, individualists promote the exercise of one's goals and desires, and to value independence and self-reliance, and advocate that interests of the individual should achieve precedence over the state or a social group, while opposing external interference upon one's own interest by society or institutions such as the government. And it's right here. And then I do have a little bit later where I do put kind of what the opposition is, which is totalitarianism and collectivism and more corporate social forms. And it's like, yep, I agree with all that. And I didn't dive into the rest of this. This is the way that at some point in time, I think that whenever I start creating my own website, it's going to be like a much upgraded version of Wikipedia. I think is where I'm going to start. Because whenever you click on Wikipedia, this is what it should look like. It should have this content here, or all of these things that are in hyperlink, except it should be like pages of this. Because you know how complicated individuality is? It's like, it's insane. Just with the history of this and what's happened over, as far back as this goes, I'm sure it's probably like back to the Greek states or some crap like that. There's books and books and books written on this. And to think that you can just sum it all up like this, it's like, no, this is extremely inefficient. And a problem that we have too is that anyone can get on here and make changes anonymously. You don't have, there's no vouching system, there's no verification, there's no accountability or responsibility at all. So you always have to take Wikipedia with a grain of salt. And it's like, that's bullshit. It's like, no, it should be, no, this is exactly what it means. Well, just looking with individualism too here, there were several places through this little bit of research that I did where the definitions were unclear. And it's something that we see with like all these little kids, especially these little girls. They just start making up stuff. It's just random gobbledygook. It's just stupid. So an example of this is I caught this little clip from Ben Shapiro. I used to watch him more than what I used to know. I don't know why. I mean, I think everything that he says is fine. But this is called Shapiro Reacts to TikToker Explaining Gender. And she just made this up. And that's why she's on TikTok, because it's like she's got to explain this new thing that she just created out of her imagination. So,
let me play you this video in which a TikTok girl explains Libra gender.
Hey guys, let's talk gender, specifically Libra genders. Firstly, know the difference between a static or a stable gender, one that doesn't change, and a fluid gender, one that does change. Now, Libra genders. Libra gender people feel mostly agender with a slight connection to another gender. Firstly, Libra feminine, and I do want you guys to keep in mind for the rest of the video that there is another black line down there. The feminine people feel mostly agender and slightly feminine.
Okay, I just can't watch this because the crap that's flowing out of her mouth, just it's making my brain cells die. I just don't get this at all. You know, it's just lunacy. It's like, no, you do not get to just randomly make stuff up. And maybe I misheard. Maybe she's not making this up. Maybe she got this off of somebody else and she's just regurgitating what she heard from somebody else. But regardless, that's not the point. Somebody just made this garbage up. I've never heard of this stuff. I don't care what this stuff is. It has absolutely no meaning to anything whatsoever, except for this. She either just made this up and now other people are going to start using this, or she found this from someone else who made it up and she's just passing it along with no foundation whatsoever. It's why this stuff gets destroyed all the time. And so whenever I was doing this, it was the same thing. One of the things that we're going to continue with this right here. We're going to get into it with ideology right here, because they had several different definitions for ideology. And part of it is that there was one of the videos that I saw, the guy didn't know enough about Jordan Peterson. And I don't either. If I just happened to fortunately find that video on Jordan Peterson, I would have gone right along with all this too. So individuality is absolutely 100% real. We're all unique individuals, because what are things that make us unique? Well, it's our parents, our grandparents, or maybe we only had one, or there are people who have none. But for the most part, we have a parent or parents, we have a grandparent or grandparents, aunt or aunts, uncles, teachers, friends, our education, our jobs, also everything with our parents, with their childhood, with their jobs that they had, their education, their level of income that they've had, and so on, with all other jobs from all others, with our friends. Because what you do at work is going to affect the way that you think, because those are the interactions that you're dealing with. Oh, what we got as gifts from our birthdays, Christmas, anniversary, or special occasion, random gifts for no reason. Or in other words, the materialistic things that we surround ourselves with. Your physical appearance. I'm going to put your physical on instead of there. Your physical appearance, your height, your weight, your hair color, skin color, eye color, muscles, fat, boy, girl, all of those things are going to have an impact on you and how you think and how you deal with everything in life, and how many kids that you have or don't have, pets, same thing, cars, house, what part of town you're in, how big your home is, if you've ever rented or owned, how many rooms, is it in disrepair, or how new, the furnishings for it, which is everything that you see. Your computer is like, okay, well, how old or new? Do you have a laptop or a tower? Do you have one? Do you have multiples? Do you have tablets, smartphones, smart TVs? Do you have a wired keyboard or wireless keyboard? Because wired keyboards are a pain because of the wire. Wireless keyboards are another pain in themselves. And so it builds on your frustrations or understanding one way or the other. I hear stuff every now and then where wireless stuff, if you have your cell phone up to your ear, it emits a wave and it's going to cause cancer, so you never want to have it up there like that. Your hobbies. I want to put that one down because that's a good kind of generalization. It's like, what are hobbies? There's a lot of hobbies. Let's not put it there. Your hobbies, your neighbors, the cities you've lived in, states, countries, vacations, trips, every single thing that you've had, everything you have seen, experienced, smelled, touched, tasted, which makes the list endless by any realistic standards. There's no way that you're going to be able to go through and categorize and catalog every single thing that you've ever encountered. It's just impossible. Yes, there's it is possible, but it's also impossible at the same time to be able to know every single thing that's happened to you, that you've interacted with since the day you were born till the day you die. It would require computers and robots to be able to do all that for you, and then it would just be this incredible amount of information. And it's not just that, then you get into the other people and all their personal experiences that have made them individuals in the conversations and interactions that you've had with them. That's why if you've ever worked any kind of job where you've had to deal with customers, they range all over the spectrum, where some of them can come up to you and just have a pleasant conversation with you with something that's a problem, and other people will have a conversation with you over the same kind of problem, but they're yelling and screaming and having a temper tantrum over that stuff. And I don't understand how you make any kind of an argument for the opposite at all of individuality, that group and anything with groupthink should be put over the individual. It's like, no. In this video that I came across, that I was just showing, this one, why Jordan Peterson is wrong about ideology, he misses it. He completely misses it. And it's because there's this other video, why this one is called Why Jordan Peterson Considers Him a Traditionalist, and this is by Michael Knowles. I don't like Michael Knowles very much, but he has it very right here with the answer that Jordan Peterson, which just really throws a wrench in everything that this guy's talking about. So Matt is asking of what's wrong with ideologues here.
I think most people, even on the right, even conservatives, would find that statement startling. What is so bad about ideology?
Well, it provides a one-size-fits-all answer to every question. And there's a variety of problems with that. And it's a one-sided, biased, one-size-fits-all answer. And the bias depends on your particular ideological stance. In some ways, biases themselves aren't as bad as you might think, because they're not that distinguishable from heuristics, which are simplifications that you need to operate in the world. I mean,
Okay, and that's it right there. It's only a sentence or two, and it's very easy to miss it, but because I was just focused on this at the time, I was able to catch it. And so a heuristic or heuristic technique, which in Greek means I find, I discover, is any approach to problem solving or self-discovery that employs a practical method that is not guaranteed to be optimal, perfect, or rational, but is nevertheless sufficient for reaching an immediate short-term goal or approximation. Oh man, yes, it's never going to be perfect. I do not believe in perfection at all. This imaginary utopian BS. But that doesn't mean that you can't make things better. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't aim up high, that there's not room for improvement. It's like, yes, there is. But there's always going to be constant room for improvement because every damn thing changes constantly. I mean, technology alone is just always changing, and that too just affects so much that we do in the world. Anyways, where finding an optimal solution is impossible or impractical, heuristic methods can be used to speed up the process of finding a satisfactory solution. Heuristics can be mental shortcuts that ease the cognitive load of making a decision. And that is the big difference right here. And so you can have group think and group membership stuff, but if you understand individuality and individualism, it's that then it fits the group's work to aid the individual, and the groups don't overcome the individual. And the opposite of that is where it's exactly that. It's the opposite. It's where the group supersedes the individual, and that the individual works for the group instead of the group working for the individual. So what do we mean by this? So a group, it will belong with anything that assists the individual with group settings. And so culture is a good example of this. An umbrella term which encompasses the social behavior and norms found in human societies, as well as knowledge, beliefs, arts, laws, customs, capabilities, and habits of the individuals in these groups. The group doesn't take control over you. It can, but if it's a good group, it should help promote you. And that it's never going to be comparing you to other people. Do not compare yourself to others. What is that saying? Okay, well, damn. A Jordan Peterson quote. Okay, well, I heard it somewhere. I guess this is Jordan Peterson's quote. Don't compare yourself with other people. Compare yourself with... No, that ain't it. Let me see if I can clean that up. Okay, well, maybe it is Jordan Peterson, because here it is. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. Because I remember there was a today and a yesterday component in there. And it's like, yeah. He talks about how you can compare yourself to somebody that you see on TV or a movie or whatever, and you're just seeing one aspect of their life where they really succeeded at it. You know, maybe they're a really good singer or performer or whatever, but then their personal life, like with their family, is absolute trash, or they have alcoholic problems or some kind of other substance abuse problems. They have anger problems, trust issues. It's like they have plenty of things. Just because they've succeeded at one thing doesn't mean anything. And then you can't ever meet up to their standards because you're not them. You need to be working on yourself. To compare yourself to someone else is stupid. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. So what this ends up being is it's kind of a straw man argument where these are closely associated. People get these confused. And until I actually made this video today and was looking into this, I don't think I've heard of heuristic and heuristic techniques before, but it's like this is exactly what I've been looking for. So something else that goes along with something that helps with the individual is something like tradition. And that's a belief or behavior that's passed down within a group or society with symbolic meaning, with special significance, with origins in the past. A component of folklore. Common examples include holidays or impractical but social meaningful clothes like lawyers or wigs, military officers, spurs. But the idea has also been applied to social norms such as greetings. It's like, yeah, these are things that whenever you can do as an individual that'll help you identify what the hell's going on and what you should do so you can make things as effective and efficient as possible so you can go throughout your normal thing. And so the opposition is anything that focuses on the group over the individual. And so that would be sewing a sweater. Totalitarianism, which prohibits all opposition's parties, outlaws individual opposition to the state and its claims, and exercises an extremely high degree of control over public and private life. It's like, what are you talking about? Well, you're talking about all this stuff. You're talking about the Nazis. You're talking about communism, socialism. You're talking about all this absolute crap, this absolute trash right here. And I'm not going to get too much into the definition of ideology because whenever I was trying to find a clear-cut definition, it was all over the place. And it was this guy who made this video too, Why Jordan Peterson Wrong, is about ideology. He even says it. And I tell you what, he tries to give a definition for it, and then later in the video, he gives another definition for it. And it's like, well, which one are you using? He's just kind of cherry picking. And he does it right here.
Okay, first, what Peterson's described here is ideological. If we return to our definitions of ideology, it fits the bill.
To take
No, it doesn't, because you are just missing out on so much.
one example, in a comparative study of ideology, political scientist Mustada Reje.
He has not mentioned this guy, Mustada Reje, until now. He has a different definition at the beginning of the video. They're pretty close, but it's like you need to be consistent with it. And this is one of the problems that we're facing in society, is that we have these kids, all these people out here who just want to start making crap up, and they want to fit it to, it's like, no. This guy, though, in this video, though, he does talk about how Jordan Peterson is kind of right in a way with ideology, and that he says maybe the term should be rigid ideology. And it's like, okay, you know what? And so, yeah, maybe so. Maybe I'm not understanding it. I don't have a problem. I don't give a damn. I'm not taking any side except for one, and that is the truth. What is the truth? Tell me whatever the truth is and explain why this is it, or the best that we can muster at the time. And so maybe, perhaps, it should be more specific. Maybe Jordan Peterson is talking about rigid ideology. We're at a point in time in human history where our knowledge has gotten so vast that it's all just kind of cluttered chaos crap all over the place. And it needs to be organized, and this stuff needs to be cleared. And I think one of the things that is that we're going to find that we need to have more words to help clearly define all of these things that are going on. I don't like this stuff where, oh, well, here we have this term ideology, and there's like a dozen different definitions from it. And it's not like it needs to be extremely over the top. It could be, well, here we have ideology, and then right here we have rigid ideology. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would make sense. So I'm not against that. But for right now, for what it is that I'm doing, because this is just for my personal growth and understanding and my personal development, that this is good enough. Whenever I develop the website that I want it to be more specific. And like Wikipedia, one of the problems that they have is that every single word in here needs to be highlighted, that whenever you go over it, it needs to click to another page. It needs to be defined. It needs to have this little pop-up thing. And it's like almost with every single word here. Not with everything though, like is, not that. The, not that either. And not that. But social and outlook and I would say even emphasizes and moral and worth, or maybe moral worth. It needs to be everything. Because I'm so sick and tired of it. But we've never had anything like this before. We've just reached this point, and a lot of it has to do with social media, that anybody can get on there and they can just start blabbing out whatever they want to out of their a-hole. It's like, no, I'm tired of it. But I don't hold this girl accountable for a damn thing. She's just a little kid. For the most part, it looks like she's just playing some kind of dress-up cartoon fantasy whatever. She's still playing with toys. It's what it looks like to me. So yeah, it's this is the opposite of what an individual is. That is, you're giving up all your control, whether if it's in public or private, to a group. Or maybe it's being forced upon you to do that, and it's like, why? Why? It just... And then collectivism is another. I wanted to change this one. That way it's... Collectivism, another ism. A value that is characterized by emphasis on cohesiveness among individuals and prioritization of the group over the self. Individuals or groups that subscribe to a collectivism worldview tend to find common values and goals as particularly salient and demonstrates greater orientation toward in-group than toward out-group. The term in-group is thought to be more diffusely defined for collectivist individuals to include societant units ranging from the nuclear family to religious or racial ethnic groups. Families are not perfect. Religion's not perfect. Racial and ethnic groups are not perfect. There are plenty of horrible families. Even within Christianity, there are some forms of Christianity that are good. There are some Christian churches that are absolute trash and stupid. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? And just because you're of a certain race or ethnic group, that doesn't mean that you're good or bad. It's that person. It's like you're just not automatically good or bad just because you're black or you're white or you're straight or you're gay or you're a man or a woman. No, it's the individual person and the choices that you make, that you act upon. It's like, I don't give a damn. You go up and you just randomly shoot someone in the face. I don't give a damn. You're a horrible person. Man, woman, black, white, young, old. You're a horrible person in my eyes. 100%. You go up and you rape someone, you just stalk somebody and you jump them and you rape them. I don't give a damn. Black, white, young, old, male. You are a horrible person. And you don't get a get out of jail free card because, oh, well, I'm black or I'm gay. No, you're trash. So in that video that he has, he says in Jordan Peterson's second book, which I don't have, Beyond Rules for Life, rule 2 is abandon ideology. Maybe it should be rigid ideology. I don't know. This is more about individuality than it is ideology. Perhaps it should be more specific to rigid ideology. and then he describes it as being rigid, comprehensive, utopian, and predicated on a few apparent self-evident axioms. And an axiom is a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, or self-evident true. It's like, yeah, an axiom is... We'll pull up the Wikipedia version here too. An axiom is a statement that is taken to be true, to serve as a premise or sharing point for further reasoning and arguments. The word comes from, I don't care about that. I like that one too. I think that one might be a little clearer. Yeah, because that's it right there. To serve as the premise or the starting point for further reasoning and arguments. And so these bullet points here are from that video that he's trying to say that Jordan Peterson is wrong here. And I have these because this is what he says supposedly in the book. So, stating with an ism, theorist generates a small number of explanational principles of forces that can supposedly explain everything. All the past, all the present, and all the future. And it's like, yeah, you know, that sounds like Black Lives Matter and feminism and all those isms, you know, and conservatism too. I mean, just absolutely. An ideologue grants the small number of forces primary causal power while ignoring other forces of equal or greater importance. Yeah, that's why these people who are, we'll go with rigid ideologies, that they won't have a discussion with you. That they're going to ignore everything else. And you're just wasting your time with these people. Even if you have a discussion with them, if one of the things that they don't value is change and being open-minded, you're wasting your time and you're the idiot. Get the hell out of there and go do something more constructive with your time than having some kind of yelling match or discussion, whether if they engage with you or not. If they're not willing to listen, then you're the idiot. You just find something better to do. And that's what I'm doing right here. So I hope you're joining me with this. An ideologue grants the small number of forces primary causes power. I already said that. So an example is they adopt a single axiom: government is bad, immigration is bad, capitalism is bad, patriarchy is bad, and that sounds like Jordan Peterson's talk for sure. Then they filter and string their experiences and insist ever more narrowly that everything can be explained by that axiom. Like, yep, it's absolutely stupid. You know what the world is? The world is absolutely complicated. And there's a whole bunch behind all of it. Because here we are, just with this, just this alone is extremely complicated. And I can write, there are books upon books written about individuality. It's like, you know what I don't need? I don't need another damn book. What I need is all this put into as simple and clear terms as possible. So, for example, it's like, I do not care about all the history behind it. I don't want to know about the Greeks. I mean, you can have it in there, but for right now, for today's intents and purposes, it's like, no, I'm not a history teacher. I don't want that. I need to know what is, now that it needs to be cleaned up. What are we going to say that the definition is today? and then let's put the rubber stamp of approval on it and say this is it, and we're not going to change it. And if it's insufficient, then chances are what we need is that we need another term. And it could just be adding another word to it, such as rigid, or some other term, so then now we have a new definition that clears it all up. I think that needs to happen a lot. This is often confused with heuristic and heuristic technique, and so we've gone over the discussion with this. And anything that is also, it's a sovereignty by nature, where you give kind of supreme power or authority as, no, this was with putting individuality as sovereign. Sovereignty of the individual. Let's see where well, actually, before we do, I wanted to play a little bit more of this conversation with Jordan Peterson, and then we're going to be done with this video right here. I might add more to it later, but for all intents and purposes,
Or simplifications that you need to operate in the world. I mean, we can't operate in the might think because they're not that distinguishable from heuristics, which are simplifications that you need to operate in the world. I mean, we can't operate in the world as in considering it in all of its complexity. We have to simplify it. But there's dangers in the simplifications, and then there's dangers in a consistently biased simplification. And ideologies are consistently biased simplifications. Now, the right sometimes, you see, part of the reason that the Western...
It's like, yeah, the world is, you know, because the world is so complicated, because it's not, well, here's a problem, and here's this solution. It's like, no, the problem is complicated, and the solution is like 10 times more complicated. It's not, oh, well, this person is homeless, let's go get them a home. It's like, no. This person has like 50 major problems and like 10 times as many small problems, and so getting a house doesn't do it. How does giving a homeless person a house fix them? It doesn't. How does it raise their IQ? How does it give them an education? How does that give them a good work ethic? How does that get them off of their drugs or alcoholism? How does that unburn and rebuild the bridges with their friends and family members? How does it do any of that stuff? How large does a home need to be? How many bedrooms does that home need to be for all of these problems to be fixed? It's like, no. Giving a homeless person a home does absolutely nothing. Just like giving a homeless person money does absolutely nothing. Giving a homeless person food does absolutely nothing. You know what these people need? They need to be absolutely, positively, 100% locked away. It needs, not in prison, but it should be in like more of like a retirement home community or a foster care thing, where it's like, if you cannot survive as a person out there, the wrong answer is just leaving them out there on the streets to fend for themselves in bad weather with the animals and just completely exposed, doing this nonsense as they continue to beat and rob and do all these horrible things. And so here's a video. Is Texas becoming California 2.0? This is from the Daily Wire. And they talk about how these people are leaving California, and many of them are going to Texas, where I live. And these idiots are bringing their stupid, dumb policies with them. So, for example, they talk about that on 6th Street, it was a really nice place that you could go and visit and have a good time. And people were there all the time. I've been to 6th Street. And now Austin is the #1 place to live. And it's like, I don't see that at all, because I never thought that at all. It was kind of fun, but it's like, no, it's still a big city. I don't want to live there. And so now here's Austin now. Now all of these people are on drugs, and they're not doing anything. This guy here, he's just there on this subway, and he's doing meth. And I'll tell you what's disgusting is that out of all these people who were there, nobody came up and took that goddamn meth pipe from this motherfucker's mouth and just threw it and threw him off the train. And he's just there. He's there. They passed some proposition. They passed one in California where you couldn't arrest these people, and now it's the same thing in Austin. Now they're all over the place. And now the police, instead of arresting them, they're, are you okay? It's like, shut the hell up. What do you mean, are you okay? Either do something such as get him out of there or go do something else. Don't ask him how he's doing. This is the wrong answer. No, it's not prison. No, that doesn't help them. But it's also not leaving them there on the street. And what you can do is, oh man, I'm getting into politics with this stuff. I'm not gonna put a link up in this video. This is for politics and news and all that. So, moving back to it, I'm sorry. Dogma is the broad sense of any belief held with undefined certainty. Yep, dogma is just. I guess that doesn't. I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm not gonna have that. I'm not gonna say that goes with this. And then, oh man. Creepy video shows people worshiping Pfizer like a cult, and these people are all confused. They're all dumb. I just no. You know, this is kind of like whenever you click on something on any of these things on Wikipedia, this is what you should see. This is what you should see with all of this stuff. It's like, what are you talking about specifically? You know, bands, titles, proper names. Are you talking about senses, modified, the history, all this? Wikipedia is just, it was a good, you had to start somewhere. So it was fine, and it's what we have kind of for right now, but it needs to be something more. I think I'm going to stop it right here. This is kind of enough for now. Oh, next. Okay. Let me make sure that I've gone over everything here that I have written down. Yes. Okay. So I've gone over everything right here. I will be touching up on individuality again, and it's because I have not seen anything that contradicts this. It's like, of course, we're all individuals, and whenever a society is more capitalistic, or I should say, maybe it's not even, but whenever it's, I think there are some things that need to be done. One is that people need to be given as absolute many freedoms as possible. You can't have them all, so it's like, again, you should not have the freedom to go and rape and murder and to steal. And you do need to have social norms and groups and all this stuff, but only those that are put in place to help you. To help you do whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And not to bash you into thinking and being like they are. But we like groups. We're social creatures for sure. And that's how we get into that, you know, these people, you know, doing this Pfizer, oh, we love Pfizer, this pharmaceutical, what? You know, it explains religion too, you know, it's kind of the same thing, and these people are taking this as some kind of damn cult. It's like, well, all right, you know what, go build out there in the jungle and then drink some Kool-Aid for all I care. So whenever that happens, whenever you're given all of these freedoms, there's this big explosion of wealth and improved living standards, and all of these really good things happen because you're not being held back. And this is something that I've talked about in one of my previous videos, is that with my morals and values that I am working on. Let me pull that up and show you. And so above me, I've switched this out. That what I want to do with my family views or values is that the first value that I want to have for the family is change. Is that everything changes. Don't ever become arrogant and thinking that you know it all. But that takes courage. I deal with that, is that I've gotten set in my ways and I'm very comfortable with it. I have to step outside my comfort zone to be able to change, to do something more. I mean, just doing these YouTube videos, it's been something different, and it's uncomfortable because it's like, I really like what it is that I was doing before, but I can do more, I can do better. And so complacency is kind of the opposite of that. I'm sure there's many others that could also go along with that. But in order to do this change, you have to have courage. And there's physical courage, there's moral courage, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, so you're going to have to look back to all that. And the opposite of that we have to fear, or that we have to recognize that we want to avoid, is fear and recklessness. And so whenever we understand that change is going to happen and we have the courage to do it, we want to change to making things better. We want to improve on this. And these were things that are positive, that are good in some sense, that make you stronger. We want to avoid vices and weaknesses and negativity. And to be able to identify these things that are going to help make things better, to improve things, we want to focus on the truth. We want to focus on empirical evidence and facts. We want to maybe not completely avoid, but we don't want to be basing our decisions just completely off of our emotions. In fact, maybe entirely void of emotions to a certain degree, because we want to do. There's a difference between doing something that's easy versus doing something that's right. So if you have like a little kid and they're screaming and yelling for a toy or a piece of candy, it's real easy to just give it to them, but it's not the right thing to do. It kind of, yeah, the kids stopped doing it, but it would be better if they stopped doing it because they understood that, no, we're not going to do that because it's wrong, and here's why. So you're not going to get the toy or the candy because it would be better for you to have earned it in some way. And for the candy, it would be like health reasons. You just can't go around eating cake and cupcakes and pies all the time. And that also means that we want to avoid the things that are meaningless, such as platitudes, and that it's not our vanity that's doing this. And then finally, also to help with it is devil's advocate. Is, well, what is the other side saying? Make sure that we're not missing something. What is there that we do need to be listening to? Maybe there's nothing. Maybe it's just a bunch of nonsense crap or whatever. And then also the opposite of that is just to be closed-minded. You can't play devil's advocate if you're closed-minded. So having a narrow view and just being arrogant. And then individuality. I talked about it a little bit right here. And it just, all of these things, there can just be an entire book written all of this. And individuality is just too important that I had to do it. I think the next one tomorrow, we're going to dig into, okay, now that we know that you are a unique individual and nobody can do anything really with your life besides you, then what are the responsibilities that go along with that? So if you've understood this and this makes sense and you're tired of this nonsense of people just making up this random crap, just pulling it out, let me show you. So just with a quick little search right here, 31 genders in New York City. That's how many genders that they've recognized. And if you don't, in certain business settings, if you mislabel someone by their wrong gender, the fine is like, I think it's $25,000, or at least that's what I last heard it was. Oh, nope, sorry. Add another 0 to it. New York City transgender laws to fine property owners $250,000. And, well, then this one says no. But here's CNS News. 6-figure fines for gender pronouns. And they have 31 genders. So if you get it wrong, so somewhere along, it's both ridiculous. I don't care if one of them's fake, you know, just saying that there's 31 genders and finding anything to do with genders or transgenders or whatever, it's both ridiculous. And both of them together is just twice as bad. So if you've understood this and you've agreed with this and you're tired of people just randomly going up and making up stuff and changing up words and definitions, and you want to see some order to all this so we can make sense out of it, because it's like I don't want to go out there and fight with every Tom, Dick, and Harry because they've made up some new garbage out of their butt. It's like, then give this video a like, subscribe and become a member. I've got Patreon and Subscribe Star, because I got better things to do than this. So, but this has to be done. So let's do it. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you again later. Bye.